What's going on, lads? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're looking at KO knife lineups for the map Haven in Valorant. And this video is going to be the basic lineup, so it's going to be the on-the-go knives. So not things where you have to, sit in a corner and line up parts of your HUD to make the knife land. It's going to be on the go. You just kind of throw it, and it's quick information. In the next video, we'll have all of the actual lineups where we're throwing it across the map from from here to A site to B site to C site and so on and so forth. And we'll go ahead and get right into the video. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see our upcoming videos, and let's go. We're going to be starting out on attacker side like always, and there are two that you can throw off the start. First one I think is probably safest, that one right there. This gets everyone that is playing close here, unless they peek out here, but you can see this line of sight, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. And if they, for some reason, play aggro and push up here, it'll get them as well. It doesn't get anyone that plays back here, so you do have to be, cognizant of that. And there's no chance of that knife being destroyed. Another knife you can throw instead of putting one here, if you want to get information for just sewers, is to essentially just put it up here. And that'll give you information only for sewers. That way you know they're playing there. You do have to clear this angle in case they're playing a bit aggro and trying to get that early pick. But that will tell you if they're, if they're playing down here and, if this is clear. One more knife that may be useful is to essentially just throw a knife right here, which will give you sewers information as well as right side of B and the A link. Which this really depends on how your team is split up. But if you were doing like a A and B split or something like that, this could be useful. But that's very situational, and I think that would probably be a very rare knife to throw. If you're pushing up through sewers, your simplest knife, and honestly, it's a pretty strong knife, is to just put it right there. It's pretty protected. Anything from over here, it's safe from. It's mostly protected unless they're playing like inside of CT. Graffiti can pretty easily destroy it, but at least then you know they're there. I would suggest maybe doing like a jump through or something like that. And once you're coming out onto site and you clear the single, you can just put on the boxes and that'll get all of sight. For A long, there's not a lot of really great knives you can throw. You can put one like here, not super great. Just, you don't want to be too close to angle, because then if they're like playing on this side over here, you'll be exposed on your shoulder. So you want to be further back on the angle. Heaven or anyone playing, down here will probably be able to shoot the knife. So not super great, not a whole lot you can really do. Again, probably best off just, doing a jump throw, just to, increase your chances of not getting killed if you even want to throw that knife. Pushing into sight, you can just throw one here. That'll basically get anyone playing close for sure, and for you. Only thing is it doesn't get anyone that's playing in this close right corner, so you still need to check that because you won't have that information. An alternative to this knife would be to essentially just put one there, which will get Heaven, anyone playing Hell, as well as here. You just don't want to overexpose yourself. And assuming you have Heaven smoked off, your best bet for getting all of sight would be to just get those boxes there. Like, it's essentially everything except for graffiti. If they're playing against the wall, which most people would be, the only way to actually get graffiti as well is to swing all the way to the right and then throw the knife. That's the only way to really get this. And if your team already has the front of sight controlled, you don't really need to throw this knife. There's not a whole lot of use you get out of that. You can put one back here. At least I'll give you more information on anyone that's still pushing into sight from rotations. All right, moving on to B site. There are a few options from essentially spawn or at the beginning of the round. If you wanted to get information for double doors, you can put one there. That'll protect it from getting destroyed. That does not get the mid window. A much stronger one, at least in my opinion, is to put it in that cubby. It'll get a lot of B site. It gets all of garage, mid window. The only thing that it doesn't really get is that cubby and then over there. But very beginning of the round, no one's gonna be playing that cubby because there's no reason they can't push up that fast. Same for over in that corner. For B site, there's two that you can throw. One is up here, the other is actually in sight. The one that's in sight is, it's a lot more information, but it's super risky to throw. The one that's up here, we throw from back here on this flower bed thing. Grass bed, weed bed. You do have to be careful not to hit this roof, so you kind of got to throw it over on the side here. And it gives decent information. Doesn't go super far back or too far to the right, but it's still valuable. So you basically just stand on this corner here, and you're going to throw it over this roof. Lands up there. And to throw into sight, It gets essentially all of sight. I would recommend essentially just jump throwing and just kind of getting it into that corner there. This is very risky to throw though, super risky. Coming into B site, there's not really anything special about the knives. You essentially just want to put it into corners to reduce the chances of it being destroyed. So you put it, you know, here to maximize, you know, the spread of it, or you can put it up here or something like that. If you want to get it in the link, put it like over there or something. Just trying to minimize your exposure while also minimizing the chances of it being destroyed. From grass, again, put one up there. It does not get window, but it does get all of garage. If you wanted to get window, if you guys are pushing up or anything like that, you would have to clear all of this, but you can put one here, which will keep it mostly protected. It's a pretty strong knife though, because it does get all of garage, window, and ceiling, as well as the left side of B. For C on attacker side, there's a few you can throw. None are super good. This one's a lot better for lineups, like, you know, the legit lineups where, you know, you're standing in a corner, things like that. You can put one here for close information. Anyone that's playing on these close corners here, right or left. You can put one further down. You do need to clear plat to do this. You just put one down there. That'll get plat, back sight here. If you clear these angles, you put one here, that'll get basically all of sight except for the deep angles here, things like that. But that'll get majority of sight. That'll be your best bet as long as you can clear those angles first, and then you can clear those angles once you actually push into sight. All right, moving on to defender side now. Starting on A side again, there's a few that we can throw depending on essentially how aggressive the attackers are. On A long, there's one we can throw right here, which this one's pretty strong because, I mean, obviously they can destroy it and it gets everyone in here. I'll throw that one again. It's all of this and most of this, kind of, I guess about half of it. I mean, you don't have to expose yourself to any angles because you're just throwing it here. If you're playing sewers and they're rushing, you just put one there. They're obviously going to know you're here if you throw that. Another one you can throw is this wall right here, which gets everyone that's up here. One more you can throw, which is a bit more risky because you do need to clear some of a lobby, is just on this wall here. So it's pretty strong because it gets all of lobby. It gets back here, most of it back here. It doesn't get like up on here, but it also gets window if you have teammates that are fighting window from B. And obviously, you know, you can throw that same knife from A long if no one pushed here, but your teammates are fighting people in window. You just, you know, right there. Playing B, there's three that you can throw that are really strong. The first will get window as well as grass, which is just right there, super simple. It's essentially all of window except for anyone that's still in the entrance, as well as all of grass, and it can't be destroyed unless grass like really wide swings. The next one is if you're trying to get information for only a window, and you're essentially aiming for right there. This way, if you look on the map, it looks like it gets in here, but because of the shape of the ability, it doesn't actually hit here. It does actually hit here though, so you do have to be aware that there might be a player playing here if it does ping someone. And the last knife is just in this corner, and again, it cannot be destroyed, but that gets all of window as well as the A pushes. It's a very strong knife. If you're playing garage window, there's a few you can throw. One is just in this corner here. That'll get a lot of, you know, the front of grass and mid as well as cubby. Kind of depends on how far into the round you are and, you know, what's going on in the round. Another you can throw is essentially just on this back wall. Not that great because it can get destroyed very easily if they turn and, you know, just shoot it. Just nothing protecting it. It does give you the information that you need if they for some reason don't destroy it. A much better knife is to essentially just play up close and to just put a knife up there, because that'll protect it kind of well. It's just a very awkward spot because they have to, like, you know, they have to be out here. They can't be playing back here or anything. To knife window, I wouldn't recommend trying to get a knife over here. I would just put it over here, simply because you're just exposed to two different angles at the same time. It's just safer to put a knife here, and the difference between that knife and this knife is very minimal. So I think this one is a lot stronger. Well, it's safer at least. For defending C site, there are a few that you can throw. None are super great. They're not bad. Just pretty basic. If let's start with cubby first. This one is very safe to throw. It's kind of tricky because you essentially need to land it there. You just want to put it up there. That'll tell you if they're playing there, and then, you know, they are just in that cubby. For the early round information, your best bet is to just not overexpose yourself. Throw one down there. That'll get anyone playing this area. Another is to just do this and put it here. It'll give you a lot more information. The only issue with this is that you don't have a safe way to get out if they are like, 5-man rushing this. You're not a chamber or omen where you can safely get out of this area. For garage and CT, there's not a whole lot you can do. You're really just trying to put the knife in places where either they're gonna have a hard time destroying it or it will displace their crosshair and you can swing off of that. So you'd put it like there and then swing, or you put it on the boxes and swing that. Same for over here. You put it, on this wall and swing. Put it here and then swing here. That's essentially all you can do for garage and CT. There's not a whole lot simply because of how the angles are designed. The only decent one with CT is that you can just put it here, which gives you, it cuts off here, but it does give you anyone that's playing very close here. All right, let's move on to retakes now. And we're gonna start with A site again. First one will be up here. Just gonna throw one in this corner, which is a pretty strong one. It gets anyone that'll be playing close as you retake from spawn, which, it'll get heaven, anyone playing close graffiti outside of CT. There's not a lot of other really great ones from heaven because you're just exposed to too many angles when you're throwing the knife. You can put one here if you wanna get some main information, but you have to clear so many angles to do that. Same for, down here, you can put one there, put one here, put one here if you want to get basically all of sight, but this would be a nightmare to try and do. CT kind of has the same problem. Retakes on A site on this map are just a nightmare in general, but this is going to be your safest knife essentially if you're retaking from this side. It just doesn't get very much information. Any further out, you have to clear this angle, which a lot of people generally hold. If you're retaking from this side, and you can clear this right here, that is a much more useful knife because it gets heaven held and basically all of this right here, which is a lot more useful. And if you can clear all of this, this will be a very helpful knife because it gets essentially all of sight, including graffiti. For long information, you put one here. For short information, you can put one there. You can actually get a kind of like a mix of both. You put one there. It's just kind of a little bit less information on a short. So it's kind of, choose what you want. If you're retaking from a long, again, you can put one here for anyone that's playing close and outside of sewers. You can put one here and you can put one here to get basically the majority of the site. Put one here if anyone's trying to play, back in CT or anything like that. Same from sewers, you can put one here, put one here. These site retakes are super straightforward. There's not a lot you can do because of how the line of sight works. There's just too much exposure when you're throwing your knives if you're peeking into sight. So your best bet is to really just throw your knives before you're exposing yourself. So you'd be throwing them there. You essentially are getting information on half the site at a time. Same from this side's link. Throw it here, fix the knife, and you're getting that information from out here, from window, put it in the cubby, or you do a jump throw here. That'll give you all of sight. If you do that, you're just risking the jump throw. For C site retakes, there's a few different options from CT. You can put one about there. This isn't horrible. It gets a lot of sight. You'll still have to clear logs and a few corners, but it's pretty strong. There's a good chance that it'll get destroyed, but it's still a pretty decent knife. You can put another one out there, which I also like. It's relatively protected, and if it does get destroyed, at least you will know that they're either playing, behind plat or possibly pushed out from logs to destroy it, or you can just toss one over there. That'll tell you that they are playing inside of cubby. You can also just put one on the right side of this, which will get the majority of sight. Just doesn't get some of the corners over here. Coming through garage, you can put a knife here, which, it's not horrible, but it's honestly not great because it gets anyone playing, here and then logs, but that's about it. Not very strong, but it does keep you safe. Honestly, I think your two best options from garage would be to put one in the middle of the ground, which obviously has a high chance of getting destroyed, but you're not going to be exposed if you do that unless they swing you. And your other one would be to just put one there, which, you have to clear a lot of angles to do that, but that will get, basically all of sight. The only thing that doesn't really get is anyone playing plat and the back of plat and a little bit of CT. Those are your two best options. Retaking from long, same as before, you would either put one here to check close, or you put one, down here or here. It really just depends. It's the same as before though. All right, last up is post plant. So there's like a million you can throw, and it really just depends on what information you have, where they're trying to retake from. So let's say, if they're retaking from B, you can throw one here. That one surprisingly is better than that. It's bad information unless they're doing like coming from your spawn and then possibly be as well. That you could, I guess, throw that. That's still not very good. I would rather throw it like there. But put one there for Heaven and CT. Put one here for B and CT. Essentially just the B link. Use this one again for the lobby. This is a strong sewers knife. You can put one up here if you have someone watching CT. That way you know exactly if they're pushing it through Heaven or not. B site's kind of interesting. It really just depends on how much exposure you're willing to risk. You can always throw these knives here, and then, you know, if you're willing to take more exposure, you can, you know, come out here, knives here, throw them deeper. And, you know, with knives like this, that still gets window. You can put a knife here, which also gets most of window, as well as garage and you know, cubby and all that. Same for this side. Put a knife here, put a knife here. It really just depends on how much exposure you're willing to risk and, you know, what the manning's looking like on that particular round. So very situational. For C post plant, if you're playing in cubby, there's only one that's like, you know, for the most part, completely safe. There's that, which, I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of useless because, like, unless they're like expecting you to be here, which I honestly, a lot of people probably will, but that's kind of useless, to be honest. You can throw one here, which probably isn't too bad. A lot of people will be playing around mid there, not be getting up on top of the plat. You can also technically throw in here. It's just risky. You might want to do like a jump throw, but I don't know. Honestly, I just think you'd be better off not worrying about the knife in that situation or throwing it very early. You can suppress most of CT by essentially just putting a knife about there. It's basically all of it. There's not a whole lot you can do about garage. This hallway is too thick. And again, that gets the majority of sight. Not too bad. You're just better off putting it on that side there. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed the video. Next video is going to be the advanced Linus, where, you know, we're actually sitting in corners or whatever and lining up things on our HUDs to throw the knife across the map and get as much information to support our teams and really maximize what we can do. So if you want to see that video, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in that next video. See ya.